Hello and welcome everybody to round 4 of the Core Racing GT2, Core Racing and Slo-Racing GT2 and GT4 Multiclass. We are back here then at Circuit des Spa-Francorchamps on a very bright and sunny day here, very warm day, and we are back as they postponed last week. However, we are back here again, and it is Eric who is leading the bunch of the qualifying pack. They have been out on their out laps. They are now going around for their first flying laps. It's certainly going to be a very interesting race. Even though last week was postponed, we did have a couple of races, or we did have a bit of a race between a few of the Ginettas as well as a few of the GT2s, and that proved to be some very good racing, so we could see a similar thing here. See, a lot of the drivers are coming for their qualifying lap. It will be Eric who will finish, or who will be the first one to finish a flying lap. 10 minutes and 30 seconds to go as he comes through the final turn, nice and clean through there as he comes down the pit straight. It is a 2:19.6, which is a very good lap. We will be seeing about 2:18.3s as Michael then goes with a 2:18.3. These drivers are beginning to get their laps done. We are seeing a big change in positions already. It is still Michael Curvers that leads. As well, you have all of the Ginetta GT4s. Yusuf manages to get himself up into 11th with Jeffrey just in front, with about 5/10ths difference between the two. I'm sure that will change by the end. But quite a few of the drivers are now finishing their out laps, quite a few of them actually. Some of them obviously finishing their flying laps. There's last contact between Luca and a GT2. Not sure what happened there, whether Eric was looking to make a move on Luca, but it ended up with both of them off the circuit. You see Eric Rotting coming through Pouon now. He is sitting in second with the 2:19.6. It is going to change obviously by the end of the session, with those flames spitting out either side of that C7R. Looking very smart indeed. Rocking that almost British racing green colour on that C7R, the big V8 power. As you can hear it just roaring down the track. He now comes up to Blanchemont, I believe it is called, where Max Verstappen has made a move around the outside. I'm not sure how. It is not an easy move. Hopefully we'll be able to see someone recreate that, as it was an exceptional move. Eric then going to be finishing his second qualifying lap. He's got 1.2 to find, so he's got a lot of time to catch up to Michael in front. And he doesn't go fast. However, Michael Curvers manages to get a 2:17.978. As you see, not sure who that is in front, but it is Gasper who's now going to come across the line with a 2:19.673. It was Bozo who just came across the line. Simon Geimer, he's sitting in 9th with a 2:21, as Janko manages to get himself up into second place with a 2:18.8. He can have a very good pace in that C7R, and he is certainly showing it here with that 2:18.8. A lot of the drivers opting to go for the soft tyres, as Heinz just jumps up into 6th position. Zand going to be crossing the line now in his Ginetta GT4. Alice gets himself up into 18th. Really strong lap by him. Matthias is there in 5th. Darren Adams, I believe, just managed to get himself up into 15th, so really good lap by him. And strangely, I don't believe we have a Josh Martin here this weekend, which is a bit of a shame. I'm not sure where he is. Clearly he's not been able to make it this weekend, which could really heat up the championship. Eric coming across the line in 16th position. 6 minutes left then in the session. Matthias trying to work his way through the traffic of the Ginettas. As you see, very sideways, very sideways as he came through that right-hander. That is the end of his hot lap. Janko then coming down towards the very fast straight. Michael Curver still sitting in the pit lane, so maybe he feels comfortable where he is, or whether they're maybe making some setup changes and looking to put him on the supers for that final blast of that final hot lap to prevent anyone from jumping him in that first place. Bozo Fui now coming across the line. Can he improve? No, he stays 9th. Simon Geimer, will he be able to jump up the grid? No, he does not. Janko pulls off on the straight, so that is the end of his qualifying laps, and he will be looking to get a change of tyres. Marian Kodeman is there in 11th as he's now going to come through the chicane. Nice and clean through there. As you see, shifting up the gears. And unfortunately we didn't have our overlay on there. Good job, I checked. Marianne still sitting in 11th. As you see, Janko is now going out on the supers. Eric still sitting in 3rd place, so really good job from him. No Thomas Erzen this weekend. Yeah, he is. He is down there in 13th. I apologise. I didn't see his name as I was browsing down the standings. He's down there in 13th, which is not the best lap time from him. He is capable of a lot more, so maybe he got caught in a bit of traffic or something. Jeffrey is there in 14th. Does it look like someone just jumped up the order? It might have been Eric, who's there in 9th. As we come to Matt Neal in the Ginetta. He's got quite a bit of time to get if he wants to get up to those further up positions. So we'll have a look. Thomas Ergen managing to get himself up into 2nd place with a 2:18.6. As I was saying, he was capable of a lot more pace, as he has just proven. That unfortunately has knocked Eric down into 4th. However, he will be pushing that C7R to its limits. As you see, really using all the track that is possible. Thomas then diving into the pit lane. Janko then on an out lap, so he won't be able to improve. We'll see Thomas Pavzek. I've probably completely butchered that pronunciation. In the black Martini car. Can he gain any positions? No, he still stays with a 2:20.6. Matteo Santini, another driver who can really put in some fast laps. He unfortunately is down there in 16th position. As that is Anzioff playing in the wall. That's some big damage to that car. As you can see, the circuit Spa-Francorchamps finish line. As a Ginetta there pulling off to the side. Heinz manages to get himself up into 4th with a 2:18.91. Really good lap by him. Eric was able to improve. He goes with a 2:19.7. Michael Curvers is out on the super softs now as he goes out on his out lap. And you have Janko. As that's a driver pointing the wrong way. I believe that will be Matteo Santini. It is. As he unfortunately is parked up the inside as he waits for the traffic to come past. Janko then 2/10 off Thomas Erzen in second. Will he be able to find some time? Nicely through Pouon. A very easy corner to run wide on. Is not an easy corner, that is for sure. He's got a bit of Ginetta traffic up in front, which could potentially hamper his lap. Looks like he may catch up on the fast straight, so he should be able to get past nice and easy. That is the driver of Thomas Blackett keeping out of the way in the 7-Up car. Thomas Erzen then is going to start his flying lap. 30 seconds left in the session. The question is, will Michael Curvers be able to make a flying lap? He's got 20 seconds to cross the final chicane and go through the finishing line. However, we are now here with Janko. Can he improve? No, he stays third with a 2:18.6. And it looks like Michael Curvers will be able to make another lap, as well as Thomas Blackett, I believe, as the clock then ticks to 0. This will be their final flying laps. As you see, Heinz diving into the pit lane. That is the end of his qualifying. He is sitting 4th, however, which is a very good lap time. Matteo Santini was still parked there on the grass, so maybe he's encountered some engine damage to that vehicle, which could be catastrophic if he can't race in the race tonight. Thomas Erzen really pushing the car to his limits. You can really see he was using all the racetrack on the exit. Janko, that is the end of his qualifying, so he won't be able to improve. Thomas Erzen is miles off the track there as he goes for a quick 360 and goes into the wall. That is a big impact. The boys will be kept busy with that car. Michael Curvers then, he's sitting in pole. He doesn't need to do anything, I doubt. As you see, Matthias is going to be coming across the line shortly. That is the driver of Bozo Fui there, just off on the side of the track. Mate staying in 11th. Simon Geimer unfortunately not able to improve. Matthias then there in 8th. Can he gain any positions? He goes up into 6th. I believe that will be the majority of the flying laps. Just Thomas Blackett, I believe, are left, as well as maybe Simon Geimer. As we'll come to Michael Curvers, as he is going to be the first one to finish to cross the line, sorry, out of these 3 drivers. Nicely through the final chicane. Little bit of a twitch there on the wheel, as you saw. Can he improve? No, he cannot. However, he sits pole still. Thomas Blackett then coming through the final chicane. He's got to find 2 attempts to beat the driver of Luca in front. No, he cannot. And that rounds out your qualifying. Do not go anywhere, as we will be up with the action live soon, just after this advert break. So then here we are for the race at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We will be heading into the action shortly. As you see, the lights are going to turn off now as they get underway. See, drivers getting off to a nice and clean start as they all scatter out to gain some track position down into turn 1. It is Michael Curvers that leads as they all come down. Looks like they got through fairly quickly. That is a Porsche 911 as he gets collected. Big impact there towards the back of the field. I believe that was a driver of Matthias. He got collected by Luca and Simon Geimer, as well as quite a few other drivers sustaining quite a bit of damage as they all come down the very long straight, all trying to filter out to try and find any track space they can as they come out. It looked like Heinz was going to look for a move. As you see, the Ginettas are going quite a few too wide. Looks like they were almost going 3 wide. It is 2x2x2 as that is an M3 that goes off. Darren Adams manages to jump up in front of Thomas Blackett. That then leads Chris to Zan, to Matt Neal, to Anzi, to Alice, Callum, Yusuf. As that is Matt Neal off, that is Matt Neal off into a wall. Unfortunately for him, as he gets collected there by Luca. So that is Luca unfortunately getting involved in 2 collisions. And that is a retirement from Matt. Big shame for him as we come to Matteo Santini, who's trying to chase down the drivers in front. Eric trying to chase down his teammate as Thomas Blackett looks to go up the inside of Darren Adams. Darren is going to try his best to stick it round the outside, and he is doing a very good job indeed as he still goes side by side. Thomas managing to get up into 4th. Darren Adams then looking to get up the inside. They are still side by side. Can Darren Adams hold on to that 2nd position in the Ginettas? Yes, he can. Gasper then trying to look for a move, as well as Eric trying to look for a move. So they're going 3 wide down, coming into Blanchimont. Gasper has managed to jump out in front. It is, however, Thomas and Eric that now goes side by side. Thomas managed to drive around the outside. Really good job from him as Mate managed to jump up on Thomas Erzen, I believe. It is Michael that leads to Janko, to Heinz, to Gasper, as Thomas Blackett now goes. Actually, no, that is Darren Adams who really outbrakes himself into the braking zone of the chicane. He did lose a ton of time there as he gets overtaken there by Zan. Really good start from Zan. That's a driver off facing almost the wrong way. That is Chris Thorpe as Gasper and Matteo and Thomas all fight for position up Air Rouge. It is Matteo who leads to Gasper. Eric Rotterdink is closing down on Thomas as Mate is now also looking for a move, as so does Eric. So maybe a slight mistake from Thomas Erzen as Thomas Pavesk, as that's outbroken himself. That is the driver of Mate, unfortunately outbroke himself, and that puts him down into 13th. Simon Geimer, I was going to say battling Alice, but they are in different classes, so it's not really a fair battle. Thomas then closing on the rear of Eric, as Eric manages to slide up alongside Gasper, as they still go side by side. They are side by side now as they come up to Pouon. Gasper will have the inside. Eric will try and stick it right round the outside. He is 4 wheels off the track. However, he has lost 1 position. He's lost another from Thomas. Really good capitalism from him. He spotted the gap and he went for it. Really good driving from him. Eric is up there in 8th. However, he is coming under pressure from Thomas Erzen in 9th. Pretty chaotic first couple of laps, and we are still battling. That's a driver of Brendanov, as well as I'm not sure, Alice, who went off there as well. Both drivers losing a ton of time. As you see, Eric is now closing on Thomas as Marjan manages to drive right round the outside of Thomas Erzen. So that is another position lost by him. Not the best of races for him so far. Bit of a lock up there by Gasper in front. Jeffrey is closing in actually on one of the GT2s. I doubt he'll be able to close up. Marjan looking for a move on Thomas as Thomas... No, sorry. Marjan looking for a move on Bozo as he goes right up the inside. Thomas Erzen, will he be able to capitalise on both of these? Looks like he's going to sit in the slipstream of the 911 RSR as they come down the old pit straight. Looks like Bozo was able to hold onto that position, so he stays there. Alice is closing in on the rear. However, we're going to come back to Thomas Erzen as he goes side by side with Marjan. Looks like Marjan is going to have the inside as they come down into the braking zone. Thomas going to drive nicely around the outside. Really easy job. He takes that position nice and easy. Chris Thorpe and Alice going side by side. Chris Thorpe managing, Alice managing to jump up in front of Chris Thorpe as Chris is now going to come under pressure from the Northern Lights Racing driver of Yusuf as they go side by side. They have come back out in single file as Thomas is now going to look for a move around the outside of Gasper. Gets it done nice and cleanly. Really good job from him. That is a car off in a wall. That is Eric. He's now pointing the wrong way as he almost gets in a head-on there with Matthias. That could have been catastrophic. He then hits the other barrier. That is a lot of damage to that C7R. Will he be able to carry on? I do not know. Looks like he is able to slowly roll the car away. And it looks like he is back up to race pace now. As you see, Darren Adams is now closing on Zan to try and get past through Pouon. Can't really make a move currently. As you see, coming down into this chicane section, big flame shooting out of the rear of the Ginetta in front. 0.3 seconds separating them. Bit of a slide there on the exit from Darren. Gasper closing back on the rear of Thomas then. Bit of a lock up there from both drivers as Thomas unfortunately runs slightly wide. He has to come across the sausage curb on the inside. Can Eric capitalise potentially on both of these? He may look for an inside on Thomas as Gasper is able to get past. No, he's not close enough to get anything done. However, Thomas does go back up the inside of Gasper. They are side by side. However, he is able to get up. Zan sideways there through the no, it is Blanchimont, sorry. Matteo Santini then closing on the rear of Hines. They go side by side as they now come down the straight. It is Hines who's up the inside. He comes across to get the best racing line he can. Matteo is able to drive straight past, so that puts him in the podium position. Thomas is now going up the inside of Gasper, and he gets up nice and cleanly, so that puts Gasper back down in 6th. And with these two battling, it has allowed Eric Rotting to close in on the rear. 0.2 between him and Gasper. Will he look for a move? Gasper has to go defensive. Eric going to go for the racing line. Luca then closing on the rear of Callum Friday. Up they go through Air Rouge. Right on the rear of Callum Friday. It is all heating up here at Spa. Thomas Erzen then closing on Bozo Fui. Just a 10th separating them as they come down under the total banner. Not able to get past. 0.2 seconds still separating the two. And it doesn't look like he's really able to get past. Yusuf is now looking for a move up the inside of Callum Friday. Gets it done nice and cleanly. And that puts him into 19th place. Jeffrey then closing actually on Eric, so not sure what is happening there with Eric. Eric Rotting is there in 7th. Closing in on Gasper in front. Thomas Erzen going side by side with Bozo. As you see, he's going to look for a dive up the inside of the chicane. Contact from the front of Thomas and the rear of Bozo. Thankfully, nothing too major. And it doesn't look like they've picked up too much damage either. Will Thomas look for the move up the inside through turn 1. It is a very tight corner. He pops out. who is later on the brakes. It is Bozo, and Thomas unfortunately has to back out from that move. Callum Friday then is coming under pressure, as that is a retirement unfortunately for Eric. Thomas is going side by side with Bozo as they come up through Air Rouge. There's not a ton of space. They are Bozo does manage to get in front. However, Thomas has got the run out, and he is trying to chase down the driver in front. As Marjan looks like he's going to try and join in on the action, as Thomas and Bozo very nearly rub and trade paint. You see Bozo having to use all the curb as he unfortunately loses position, and he is down in 9th as he may now come under pressure from Marjan behind. And with these three battling, it has allowed Mate to join onto the rear of this battle, which could certainly heat things up. Alice is catching back up onto the rear of Callum. Point 2 as they come down the back, the back straight. 0.1 seconds now as they go side by side down into the chicane. It is Callum up the inside. However, Alice brakes as late as he dares, and he gets up in front of Callum Friday. However, neither of these drivers are backing out from each other. 0.3 seconds separating them as Gasper is closing back on the rear of Thomas. This seems to be a reoccurring battle that is happening on track currently, as Gasper did sort of look to go right round the outside. However, changes his mind about it, as Marjan is now going to look to go round the outside. Couldn't get it properly alongside, so he couldn't make the move stick, as he unfortunately loses a position maybe to Mate, as Mate goes very wide, very nearly colliding with the barrier as he loses a potential position. Well, loses quite a few, I believe. Yeah, he is down there in 12th. Eric is there in 7th place, chasing down the driver of Gasper in front. Six laps in then. Try and get my words out, with 20 more to go. Marjan is chasing down the drivers in front of Bozo. However, he's got a lot of time to find, as you can see from the rear facing camera of the C7R of Bozo, as Chris and Alice go side by side down into turn 1. Chris is going to go defensive as he has his teammate of Callum Friday up in front, as Yusuf and Zan go side by side. Zan, however, had the better run, and Yusuf isn't properly able to get up alongside. As you see, coming up the hill nicely through there. 0.1 seconds separating them as they come down the back straight. You can see the driver of Darren Adams just in front there. He is sitting there comfortably in 3rd, as Yusuf is going to go up the inside of Zan. Nice and cleanly done piece of cake. However, Zan is really trying to push back. Unfortunately not able to get the best of runs. Chris trying to chase down the driver in front. Yusuf, Zan actually getting a very big slide on. Hopefully, looks like he was able to hold it. Yusuf managing to get up into 17th, using all the track there on the exit. So does Callum, as I think he may have just tagged the wall there. You don't want to be doing that too often. Hines is there in 4th. He seems to be having a very good pace here in the C7R. Looks like the drivers are beginning to space out, as that is a mistake there by Mate as he comes now into the pit lane. Michael cuts caught in a bit of traffic of Anzi. We'll have a quick conversation here about the tyre compounds being used. We do obviously have for the GT2s, if you are unfamiliar, you have the super softs, the soft as a retirement there for Mate. Unfortunate for him. That brings us down to 23 runners in the race. But as I was saying, with the GT2s you do have the super softs, mediums and hard tyres. As Michael covers, your race leader is on the soft, with Janko on the mediums, Matteo Santini on the softs, Heinz on the mediums, Thomas on the softs. You then have Gasper coming under pressure from Eric. Unfortunately unable to get past. Thomas and Bozo are all of those 4 drivers are on the mediums. You then have Marjan on the softs with Matthias in 11th with the medium tyre compound. Simon Geimer is in 12th with the softs, and I believe he is not rounding out the GT2s. It is Brandon who rounds off the GT2s, who is also on the soft tyres. As Alice is now going back side by side with Callum Friday this time, not his teammate of Chris Thorpe. They are still side by side. Could Chris Thorpe actually capitalise? No, he cannot. As Alice is now going to look to go up the inside, not able to get it done. With tyre compounds with the Ginetta, all you have is the hard tyre, so only drivers will be able to choose that, which doesn't put as much strategy on the pit strategy. However, it can slightly change on what lap they decide to pit, as the drivers are spacing out now. .6 seconds then to Alice from Callum Friday. A lot of the drivers are beginning to space out now. Hopefully they'll be able to clump back in again. Just as I say that, Gasper really closes on to the rear of Thomas Pavesk, as they now come through the very long right-hander. Yet again, this is another corner that can really introduce some understeer into the car, as that is a bit of traffic there of Anzi. 0.6 seconds then separating them. Matthias is closing on the rear of Marjan. Marjan on the softs. 0.3 seconds. 0.2 as they come now through pool 1. Really not the best of runs there by Marjan. However, Matthias unfortunately had to check up because of Marjan being slow through the corner, and he has lost a second. As we will come to your race leader of Michael Curvers. He's controlling the pace very nicely. About 7 seconds separating him and Janko, as Thomas was able to get up past Gasper, so not sure whether he made a mistake, as Gasper was battling with Thomas Pavesk, and he has lost a position to the other Thomas of Thomas Erzen. That is Thomas Pavesk now diving into the pit lane on lap 10. Or sorry, no, on lap 9. Just, we are a third of the way through now almost. As we will come back to Michael Curvers, as we're going to ride on board for a lap, as you will get to see how to lap around the circuit des Spa-Francorchamps. You see, he seems very comfortable in this 458. One of the only 458s out there on track. About 13 GT2s out there and about 11 GT4s. So he's coming nicely through Puon. He's really not pushing that hard, just trying to make sure his tyres are holding off. Janko is there in second. And you have Matteo Santini, who's had quite a good start. He is up into third. I believe he qualified about 6th or 7th. So that is a really good drive from him. Could he gain any more positions? Doesn't look like he's lapping any faster than the drivers in front. However, anything can happen in a race situation. As I just then say that, Hines unfortunately cut the grass slightly there, as he is trying to close down on Matteo in front. He's got 5 seconds to gain. A bit of front damage to that car, so it will be yet another replaced panel, which seems to be quite a few occurrences here in the GT2, GT4 multi-class, with all these drivers battling so close together. Bumps and scratches are to be almost expected, a bit like in the BTCC season. As you see, Thomas and Gasper are both closing in on Eric Rotterdink. As we now start the 10th lap. You can just see the gap difference there. Michael just went up Air Rouge, and now Janko is now at the top of Air Rouge. You can really see the gap between them. It is only 7 seconds, but it is certainly a big amount of time between the two when visualized in terms of distance. You see, Thomas seems to have got a cracker of a run out of Air Rouge. He will be looking to hopefully make a move on Eric. Can he get it done? Doesn't look like he's going to be close enough to pop out of the slipstream, so he has to stay there in 5th. He did gain a lot of time though to those drivers. Gasper was closing on the rear of Thomas. However, has dropped off again, so it doesn't really matter. Bozo in 8th, really good drive from him so far. A bit of a lock up there on that front right tyre. As you see the Shell car of Matthias, the Porsche 911 RSR. Not sure whether that was a mistake there by Yusuf, or whether that was something wrong with her timings. However, Darren is into 3rd. Callum, Zan, Alice and Chris Thorpe are all battling for position. Luca then now diving into the pit lane. There in at 7th is Gasper, trying to chase down Thomas Erzen in front. If we actually have a quick look at the car of Luca, as you can see, we do in fact have the banner of #ForzaMani. That is to do with the unfortunate passing of a fellow sim racing driver in the Liga Corsa series, which is another racing series here on Assetto Corsa. He unfortunately passed away, and those drivers are just repping #ForzaMani to show their respect and their not sure what the word is I'm thinking of, show their respect to Manny Moodley, who was a driver. Darren Oldham's also another driver rocking the #ForzaMani banner. I believe it Josh and Yusuf may have been. It doesn't look like don't believe, yeah, unfortunately Yusuf's hasn't been updated. However, both of them, both Josh and Yusuf, should have been running the ForzaMani, so maybe it's a bit of a server issue. But as we come back to the racing, it is Jeffrey who still leads the Ginetta GT4s, as that is an unfortunate retirement there from Matt Yasmern. Unfortunate for him, he was running in the GT2s. Thomas Blackett is there in 13th. As you can also see on the overlay in the top right, we also are running the hashtag ForzaMani here on the live stream overlay. Thoughts are with his friends and his family, who are obviously all unfortunately suffering from his loss. But we are celebrating it here with a race at Spa. And it is proving to be a very intense race indeed. Eric then up in 4th. You then have the driver of Thomas Erzen in 5th. Trying to chase down the driver of Eric Rotterdink in front. As you see, Ginetta trying to get out of the way. That was Luca. Does look like he was able to really get out of the way, which is good. Gasper is now going to try and close in on the rear. So I believe Michael Curvers has come into the pit lane on that last lap, as he is there in 7th, looking to get the undercut, as Janko is now your race leader. Here, very nearly losing the car there across the curbs. Very bumpy indeed. Zan, Alice, Callum and Chris are all still battling for position. Gasper going side by side with Thomas Erzen. Gasper getting past ever. He's going to have to go around the outside. He gets it done, however, and he gets into that 5th place. Alice, Callum, Zan are all battling yet again as they come through Pouon. Alice is now going to look to go round the outside. Can he get it done? Looks like he is probably alongside. That's contact. That is big contact between the two. How Chris Thorpe managed to get through, I do not know. That was massive contact between the two. Let's have a look at that replay between the two, as that was a pretty big collision. As you saw, Alice was then going to go around the outside. Not sure whether maybe they banged doors. Looked like the driver of I can't remember who it was, Zan, actually got a little loose over the curb and unfortunately lost it and got in contact with a driver. That was unfortunately Chris Thorpe, I believe, which is a case of wrong place at the wrong... Sorry, it was Alice that got caught in... Or was it Zan? It was one of those two drivers, I can't remember. My memory seems to be going, clearly. Gasper then closing back in on Thomas Erzen. Looks like he was able to get past as we looked at that replay. Bit of a lock up from Thomas, as Gasper is now diving into the pit lane, so he will be getting out of trouble. Michael Curve is now coming across the pit line, who will come out first. It looks like it will be Michael Curvers who will take the lead back from Janko. Just how much difference will it be between the two? Not a lot, to be fair. About 8 seconds, so probably about 9 by the time he finishes a lap, obviously with the tyres not being fully up to temperature. So drivers are spacing out now. Matteo Santini is your race leader. However, he has not pitted. A lot of the drivers do opt for the one-stop strategy. Some of them opt to go soft medium, some of them go medium mediums. But usually it's a soft medium for quite a few drivers. The only problem with the soft medium stint is you do have to look after those tyres for that soft stint, as they do wear quite considerably quicker than the mediums. Eric Rodsink sitting there in third. Thomas not being able to really close back down. Bit of a sideways action there from Thomas Erzen. Not the fastest way round, but certainly the most flashy way round. Eric is closing down on Heinz in front. Heinz not been lapping the quickest of lap times. Eric has been on the charge. 2:20.5 for him last lap. As you see, he is trying to chase down the cars in front. Bit of traffic there of Zan, trying to get out of the way. Bit of a lock up there from Heinz that could cost him quite a considerable amount of time. 0.4 seconds now separating them, as Thomas Erzen now dives into the pit lane. These two will be battling, which will cost them a bit of time. It is Heinz now, your race leader, being followed. Matteo Santini now comes into the pit lane. Retirement then for Brandon Chan in the M3 GT2. He didn't have the best of races so far. Unfortunately, his car has come to a stop, or he's sustained too much damage, and that has put him out of the race. You see Michael Curvers right back there in the background. You have Heinz and Eric leading the race. Still have to pit obviously, but they've got the traffic of the Ginettas in front. A couple of Ginettas of Chris Thorpe and Alice Courant. Try and get their names out. Heinz then in trying to look for a gap past these Ginettas. They go 3 wide down into Pouon. This is dangerous stuff. Really good driving from these drivers. It is not an easy thing to go 2 wide through Pouon, let alone 3 wide. As that is a mistake there for Heinz. That has allowed Eric to get up alongside as they come under the total banner. It is Eric who brakes later, and he takes the race lead. Excuse me, as you see, Michael Curvers is trying to chase down the cars in front, as Gasper is right back on the rear of Gasper. As that's a big sideways moment, and he is off into the wall. Manages to bounce off, however, as he goes snaking down this track. It's like he's playing on a Nokia phone, a good old game of Snake. But that is unfortunate for him. He didn't lose any more positions, thankfully, but he sustained quite a bit of damage to the front of that GT2. That just proves how difficult these cars are to drive. They certainly are not easy. They have a lot of power. They stop very quickly. They have a lot of grip. However, despite all this, they are still not easy to drive, as they are very delicate machines. Almost machines of engineering. 0.2 between Simon and Marjan, sorry. Don't know where I got Garjan from. Just the 0.2 between Simon and Marjan. 0.3 now as they come to the double right. Looks like Gasper was able to get up back past Thomas Erzen, so really good job from him. Not sure whether Gasper maybe made a mistake. We'll have a look on this lap. Looks like he may have pitted and also made a mistake, which is unfortunate. Luca then, a driver in the Apex Predator Racing Ginetta. Very, very big sideways moment there. As we'll come to Simon going side by side with Marjan. Really big lock up there by Marjan. That could potentially cost him some tyre wear, which could come back and bite him. We will come back to the Apex Predator Racing driver of Luca Peckley, trying to chase down Alice in front. 0.4 seconds separating them. You see the Lux livery sticker almost placed exactly in the right place for a bit of a plug. You see a really big logo there covering up most of the screen. I'm sure he will like that bit of publicity on the stream. See Yusuf in 16th, trying to chase down Thomas Blackett in front. Both these drivers I would have thought pitted. Actually, Thomas Blackett might have pitted and Yusuf has not, as Yusuf is going to try and go around the outside. Can't get it done. Janko then trying to chase down these drivers in front as they go side by side. Hopefully we don't miss it. There we go. 3 wide into the chicane. Janko gets past nice and cleanly. Callum Friday into the pit lane. Looked like Yusuf was looking to go that way. However, decides against it. As Simon is trying to chase back down to the driver of Marjan in front. As they come through the left-hander. Looks like Simon may go for a dive. No, he cannot. Hines into the pit mail, coming now out of the pit lane. Looks like there is Gasper there now going to cross the line, where Hines will come out ahead, and he comes out on the soft tyre. 16 laps then here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps in sunny Belgium. Simon still trying to chase down the car in front. Looks like Luca was able to get past Alice in front. However, this is almost going to turn into a... Yes, it is going to turn into a 3-car battle. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong timings. It is Luca who's going to go side by side with Callum Friday. And Alice is going to look for a move as well. Luca is up in front of Callum. Callum going to have to look to stick up the inside. However, Luca is past. Could Callum come under pressure yet from Alice? It looks like he's going to look for a dive up the inside. Unfortunately, can't get it done, as he runs quite wide there on the exit. Luca is able to gain a bit of a gap to these two drivers behind that are battling. Yusuf then going to look for a move around the outside of Thomas Blackett. It's not going to be easy to do, as you can see, unable to get it done as he comes for the run out of the second part of the chicane almost. Simon trying to get past Marjan in front but cannot get anything done. See, Yusuf is back on the rear of Thomas Blackett. Alice is on the rear of Callum Friday. They're in a bit of traffic as Michael covers. I was then going to say make a move on Eric Rotterdink. However, he has now come into the pit lane very sideways there for Janko. He must be sliding into those DMs almost, as that was a big sideways moment through the chicane. Janko then obviously up into third. Matteo Santini, will he be able to get up into third? I would have thought so, as he was there before the pit stops. Thomas Erzen going to look for a move on Gasper. Can he get it done into the chicane? No, he cannot. However, that's contact there between a Ginetta as he's come straight across the inside of the chicane. How did they avoid contact? He was parked right across the apex of the chicane. That really shows the strength of the driving here. As you see, Yusuf catching up to Thomas Blackett. That is a backmarker Ginetta there in the distance. As they go side by side down into the chicane, Yusuf breaks as late as he dares as they still go side by side. Yusuf up into 14th place. Really good driving by him. Thomas then now going to look for a move on Gasper in the exact same place that Yusuf just did to Thomas Blackett. They go side by side down the straight. The C7R going to be up the inside, the ideal place to make a move. Thomas breaks later and he stays in 6th position. Thomas Blackett is not looking to back down from Yusuf. 0.3 seconds then separating them as they come down through Pouhon. You see the driver of Matteo Santini off in front. Simon Geimer, a driver who's been trying every lap to try and get past the car in front. Lock up there from Marjan. Could this be the place that Simon capitalises? No, it is not, and he unfortunately is still there in 11th. Despite how hard he tries to get past the Porsche in front, he cannot just make a way past. He has sustained quite a bit of damage to that car. A lot of scratches indeed. As we come to Eric, Thomas and Gasper. Eric managing to get up in... No, sorry, Thomas managed to get past Eric. A bit of a dip of a wheel there from Thomas Erzen, so maybe he's losing a bit of concentration here. It is about an hour race here at Spa, and fatigue can really come into play, especially with you, especially if you're only used to doing sort of sprint online races. When you're then thrown into almost an hour-long race, fatigue can come into play with your arms starting to get tired from having to fight the car, as well as just general fatigue. However, Gasper is now looking to go right round the outside of Eric. They both brake about the same time. Eric up the inside. However, can Gasper get a good run? He's got quite a nice run. Unfortunately, not going to be able to get it side by side down into a Rouge, so he won't be able to make a move until the chicane. 0.3 seconds then separating them as they come on down the pit straight. 0.1, Gasper does pop out of the slipstream and looks to make a move on Eric. Up the inside, can he get it done? Nice and cleanly passed, a really good move from him. And that is not an easy move to do. And that puts him up into 6th place. So we'll try and have a look for some battles on track. And literally as we do that, 3 battles appear. Simon Geimer, this time he is alongside Marjan. He is up the inside. Can he get it done this time? The lights are on full beam and he is passed. That puts him up into 10th position. He's been fighting for that position for quite a few laps now, and he has finally taken the top 10 finish away from Marjan. Luca coming under pressure from Chris Thorpe behind. Actually, I believe Luca was able to get past, so he is trying to chase down the car in front. He was 2.5 seconds faster that last lap alone to Callum Friday in front. Excuse me. And he's got to find about 2 seconds to gain to the cars in front, or the car in front of Callum Friday, and then another 4 to try and chase down Alice. Eric then unfortunately being passed then by Gasper, and he is down in 7th position, 0.7 seconds separating them as they now come across the line to start their 19th lap. Michael Curvers having a pretty quiet race, just trying to drive his own drive, is sitting comfortably in the lead. He's led since turn 1 and he is still leading here. He's got another 7 laps to go even. Janko is there in 2nd. He's trying to chase down the car in front of Michael Curvers. He's been sitting about that distance entire race, so I'm not sure whether he'll be able to catch up unless if Michael makes a mistake. Matteo Santini, a driver in the 911 RSR, is 20 seconds from Janko, so I doubt he'll be able to gain any more places on the podium. He is on the soft tyres as he now comes through Pouhon. He's got to find a ton of time if he wants to catch up, so I highly doubt he'll be able to get up on Janko in front. Heinz then in 4th, is there in the C7R. Yeah, again another 20 odd seconds off Matteo Santini. so I will doubt he will make any positions upwards. Thomas Erzen is there in 5th, with Gasper in 6th and Eric in 7th. These three cars have been battling all race. That is, just as I say that, that is Heinz who has made a mistake, and he is down in 7th. So then that puts Thomas, Gasper and Eric up a place. Thomas Pavesk is there in 8th, with Bozo Fui sitting there in 9th. Simon Geimer, after finally getting past Mayan, is there in 10th. And Mayan obviously is in 11th. Darren Adams is leading the Ginettas. He's got 6 laps to go. You then have Jeffrey, who has been leading the Ginettas for most of the race. Yusuf is now coming under pressure from Thomas Blackett, who goes up the inside as Thomas Erzen goes past both of the Ginettas. Looks like Thomas Blackett is comfortably past Yusuf. Excuse me again. And he is on that final step of the podium, so these two will be battling it out till the very end, I can see. Alice is there in 16th, looking quite comfortable, with Luca lapping about a second a lap quicker, and is going to try and chase down Alice in front. Yusuf and Thomas Blackett are going side by side down the back straight. You then have Eric trying to get past both of them. Up the inside goes Thomas Blackett. Nice and cleanly done to get past Yusuf. Callum Friday is there in 7th position. Yes, 7th position in the Zero Racing car, designed like the Jaguar Formula E car. You then have his teammate of Chris Thorpe there in 8th place. Zan there in 9th, with Anzi in 10th out of the Ginettas. Down to 21 drivers then here at Spa. Michael now going to come on to his 21st lap, which he now does. Under the Spa sign he goes down into turn 1, a heavy braking zone, down into first. Few drivers opt for second to try and prevent the rear wheels from spinning. Not Michael, however, he goes for second. Run down the hill, try and get close to the wall to set you up the best for a Rouge. Cut the inside curb, making sure you don't run wide at the top of the hill. As you now come down the straight, Blanche Pont signs there either side, which would be the DRS zone if this was a Formula car, or even DTMs. Down the gears into 3rd through the chicane, nicely running the curbs, making sure you set yourself up nicely for this little run down to the very long right. Braking nice and early down the gears, and making sure you don't get on the power too early, as you will begin to run wide. Bit sideways on the exit there for Michael, as he now comes through this flowing left-hander. Just a simple lift and maybe a slight dab of the brake to put some weight over the front to get the car gripping. Now through Pouon down into 4th, clipping the first apex, running wide, and then clipping the second apex, and then running wide yet again to try and get the best run. Under the total sign we go, down into 3rd, nicely through the right-hander. Some drivers clip that curb, some don't. Through the second half, nice and clean through there, down into this right-hander. Very easy to run wide. As you see, just as I say that, a Ginetta is off there on the side. Michael, unfortunately, going the same way that Ginetta did, which is a bit unfortunate. Bozo is now going side by side with Thomas to go up past. Unfortunately, makes a mistake into the chicane. Can he hold it straight? Yes, he can. However, he is now down into 9th, and unfortunately lost a bit of time to Thomas in front. We'll then come back to Michael Curvers, down into the chicane, down into 2nd, into 1st, nicely across the 1st, making sure you get close to the sausage curb on the inside as you run wide. And that is a lap of Spa there from your race leader of Michael Curvers. Janko then there in second, 15 seconds off from the race leader. Not really able to catch up in front. As it is all quarantining here in Belgium. Obviously not from the engine notes of these GT2, GT4 cars. Without a doubt, in my opinion, the Porsche 911 RSR with that upgraded exhaust sounds the best out of the GT2s and GT4s. I think that's right. I think I said GT2, GT4s. But without a doubt, the onboard noise is just incredible. I'll let you have a listen for a little second. As you can just hear, it really screams and it just sounds absolutely amazing in my opinion. You then have the 458, which we just heard, which has I believe a Ferrari tuned V8. I'm not sure on that. Obviously, so it is more higher pitched. You then have the C7R, which obviously has the very meaty sound. As you can hear, it has a very meaty sound to that engine, a very nice sounding V8, obviously similar to a good old American V8 engine. You then have the M3 GT2, which on board has quite a bit of gearbox whine to it. And you get a very nice, almost rev banging in between the gears, which in my opinion it sounds very good. Quite a few buttons there on the steering wheel. You can almost ask a similar question like they done a couple of years ago, I believe it was, in the F1 press conference, talking about how there's too many buttons on the wheel. You then have the Ginettas, which also has a lot of gearbox whine to it, and I believe a inline 4 engine. I might be wrong, but I believe that is what they use. So Jeffrey was able to take the race, or the Ginetta lead there, as Darren Adams is there in second. Really good race from him. As you can see, has a very nice helmet there, a lot of designs there. You can hear that C7R just power past. That is the driver of Heinz. So I believe he has got a new helmet for this season. Looking very smart indeed. Hopefully we'll be able to get a better look. Not really, unfortunately. But you see that is a new helmet, which is green, black and white. 3 laps then remaining here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in this GT2 GT4 Multiclass. We'll have a little conversation about that opening music then, as not a lot is happening on track. That opening song was L&P from Tom Vernon. It is a very good track. I believe it is a remake or a remix from one of the Gran Turismo games. I want to say it's Gran Turismo 5, but I might be wrong. But it is a very good tune indeed. If you're very into house music, he is certainly the artist for you. He will be dropping, or he has dropped, an album quite recently. I believe it hasn't dropped quite yet, but he will be dropping an album shortly, which we will be looking forward to hearing. Michael then still leading here at Spa. Nothing new, nothing new. He is a very good driver indeed, very experienced in the core racing scene and just in racing in general. Janko then in second, not able to catch up to the Ferrari of Michael in front. Matteo Santini, same thing but with Janko, not able to catch up, and he's sitting there in third with just a couple of laps to go. Thomas Erzan there in fourth, trying to catch up. Well, he won't be able to, he's got about 15 seconds unless if Matteo makes a mistake. Eric then, however, in sixth, could potentially catch up to Thomas. 2 seconds separating them, as you see Jeffrey there in the slipstream, the race leader of the Ginettas. Gasper there in sixth, unfortunately not able to really catch up to the drivers on in front. Hines 4 seconds off Gasper, so he's got a bit of time to try and catch if he wants to get up any positions. Sitting nicely there in 7th position. Thomas, he's been battling quite a bit all race. He must be happy that he's got a bit of quiet air. Bozo is about 3 seconds behind. It isn't a ton of time, but it is enough where he can have a bit of breathing space. Simon there, a lot of flames coming out of the side of that M3 GT2. Marjan is there in 11th. Seems to not have as much pace that Simon does. After Simon was able to get past, he's already gained 12 seconds. Jeffrey is there in 12th place. As you see, Gasper there just behind. So it looks like Jeffrey has got a very interesting helmet. I believe it's one of the standard Assetto Corsa helmets, but it is looking very smart to almost match the car. It is red and black, however, not red and white. Thomas Blackett in the 7-up car. He's got Yusuf behind, so this could turn interesting over the next couple of laps. See, a very multicoloured helmet there for Yusuf. Just a standard Assetto Corsa helmet for Thomas Blackett. It is green, however, so it does match his car. Callum Friday, I believe, rocking a standard blue helmet. Zan actually rocking a helmet which somewhat is similar to his racing livery, looking very smart. Alice and Chris both rocking the same. Anzi rocking a similar helmet to his teammate of Zan, over obviously the green falcon on the side, not the same as Zan, sorry, not Anzi. Zan, which has the blue panther, similar to Pink Panther but the wrong colour. And obviously this is not a TV show, this is the game of Assetto Corsa where we are going motor racing online. Point 2 separating Yusuf and Thomas Blackett, coming down the old pit straight. Not used that often anymore. I believe it is used a couple of times throughout the season as Simon Geimer goes up the inside of both these Ginettas. But it is used a couple of times throughout the real life season, as that's a big twitch there from Thomas Blackett, and that will allow Yusuf to get up past quite comfortably, as there's already point 2 separating them, as Yusuf will be in the slipstream of Darren Adams. Michael Covers then coming on to the final lap. This will be the last time he will go through turn 1. Thomas Blackett then unfortunately dropping off quite a bit from the car in front. Alice catching up to Zan in front. As you see, getting up nicely alongside. Nice and easy move. Very well done. Not that easy to do. Have he made it look like a piece of cake? Looks like that will be the closest battle on track. Sounded like someone was going into the pit lane, so I'm not sure who that was. Last lap then. Zan on the rear of Alice as they come down the pit back straight. They are side by side. Alice up the inside. Zan going to have to go the long way round. It will certainly be a cracking move. We have seen it done quite a few times. He brakes later. Gets it done nice and easy. Very good job. As you see, kind of contact there between the two. Zan letting him know his place. Alice will not be happy as he will begin to see red. As you see, looking to dive up the inside, unfortunately being forced to cross the grass very narrowly, avoiding contact. And he is there in 19th. Michael Kervers still holding on to the lead. As you see, Janko on the rear of these two Ginettas. Not these two Ginettas, sorry. That was just one Ginetta of Chris Thorpe. Anyway, as I was saying, Alice now going to look for a move on Zan. Janko in on the mix as well. He's going to go right round the outside of Alice. Nice and easily done. Should be easy as he is in the C7R, which obviously is of way more power than these Ginettas. Michael Kerversen coming through Blanchimont for the last time. 2 corners to go and the race victory is his, as he now comes down into the chicane. He gets it nicely through there, and that leads Michael Kervers to be the race leader. He's led the entire race, and that is a race victory for him. That is a second place for Janko. Really good driving from him. Matteo Santini will be finishing in third. Janko actually coming to the pit lane, so not sure what's happening there. Whether maybe he's finished his lap or what. Or maybe he's not got enough petrol, and it's a similar thing to the Schumacher incident. So it is Michael Kervers who won. I believe Matteo Santini will be second. Thomas Erzen then will be finishing in fourth. Really good drive from him, with Eric there in 5th place. Gaspar, after his big long battles and a couple of mistakes, he will be finishing there in 6th position, with Hines in 7th. Really good drive from Hines. Big lock up there for Hines. As you see on the left there, that is the final race results, I believe. As unless if one of these drivers makes a mistake, that will be how these cars will be finishing. As you see, Jeffrey, the race winner of the Ginettas. Looks like someone is happy, and I believe it is Gaspar who is happy with his race results. As you see, smoking up the tyres. Clearly they don't need those anymore. As you can see, really lighting up the tyres as he goes down the straight. So that wraps it up here then for Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Hopefully we will be able to catch a word with the drivers as they come into the pit lane. But it was a very good race indeed. So we will go to a quick break now, as we will try and get a word with one of the drivers.
I miss you. Fuck it, this might be the hardest song I've ever had to write. Yeah, I dreamt about you last night. I only see you when I close my eyes tight. Yeah, I wish I told you how I felt before you left, but it just never felt right. Yeah. I wish I told you everything before you left. I won't forget the day that they found the growth in your chest. The cancer took a hold of your body and then it spread. I talk to you more now than I ever did, I'm a mess. This song will never capture the pain that I could express. I learned from you that nothing is perfect, but try your best. I know you had your demons a younger me didn't get. And out of all our demons, our biggest might be regret. Relate more than ever, remember back when I would only see you every other week. And every other Wednesday you would take us out to eat. Mom and you had split, so we're living in between. Looking up the word divorce to understand what it could mean, but I don't understand. Mom is with another man. You been drinking heavier than me, was just another can. Caught you for the broken homes, we were just another fam. Could've left like other dads, you had another plan. So you stuck around, that's a life that you probably would never choose. You bottled it inside and that bottle turned into booze. The anger took a hold and your body took the abuse. But finally found sobriety, cried when I got the news. I know, been hurting more than I show. Inspired by your story, couple things you should know. I met this girl at my show, teared up by what I was told. She said I'm sober because of you, you do way more than you know. And I said, oh, please grant me the serenity to accept everything I cannot change. You always told me that do anything to have you back, see you one day. Stay so optimistic. You started chemo, fought the battle, never quit. That really left an imprint. And we would talk about our lives, and after this, how we would live them different. See, mommy, you would put your differences aside. Every day she would visit, see the love in your vision, see the hurt in your smile. Your wisdom is what I'm missing the most. I'll never be ready to let you go. I've never felt so helpless, it's out of both our control. You told me how you wanted to travel, next thing you'll go, and your body had become fragile. Not once did you lose your soul, we were told it was progressing and you had less than a week. True love is every tear when we told you we had to leave. And how we were conversing, not once did we need to speak. Then one day in late October, you passed away in your sleep. I've been crying when I think about it. I miss your smile, miss your laugh, and now I live without it. I told you music was my passion and you never doubted. And people tell me they relate, but now I truly doubt it. Remember crying on your grave and yelling up to you, how did I lose my way? I won't forget that summer was some of my darkest days. Was asking for a sign, sat in my tears and prayed. When I saw the sign you sent me, that day was forever changed. I know I should have been a better me. Well, blame me when we argue, I said things I didn't mean. Me and you are who our issue should have always been between. So I'm sorry for the lack of communication from me. I just wish that you were here so you could watch me with a Grammy. But more importantly, to build a family. I hope I make you proud and become everything I can be. I hope they play it loud and send this letter where I can't reach this silly mark. Oh, please grant me the serenity to accept everything I cannot change. You always told me that do anything to have you back, see you one day. I wonder if you see me when I fall, yeah. I wonder if you hear me now at all. Maybe if the world played this through speakers, I'll be loud enough to reach you in your ear. My last letter for you.
So then a very good race at there we go, that's the right image. So a very good race then here at Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. We've managed to join both we've managed to gain both Darren and Heinz. So we'll start with Heinz actually. Heinz, a really good race for you, a 7th place. I believe you qualified about 4th, I believe it was, something like that. Really good job.
Hi Thomas.
How did overall, how did you feel the race went?
Not too bad actually. I was very surprised to get a 4th in quali. I thought I did myself proud, considering the circumstances of my day, which was quite hectic, busy, and yeah, started out with a slight issue at T1. I don't know if I was at fault in any of the bumping and bashing, but didn't seem like anyone suffered too badly, and just kind of watched Michael Curvers and Yanko and I can't remember who else in third place. Just drifted off into the distance, and I thought I'll just relax. And on mediums in my first stint, somehow I started to lose time towards the mid of the stint. Blue tires, no heat in them, and I just went slower and slower and slower. And Eric and Tomaj were all catching me slowly. And eventually, Eric got me just before pit stops with a really, really sweet pass. We were lapping some Ginettas, and he got me in the process. So it was a very clever pass. I really enjoyed being passed like that. And went into the pits a lap early. Thought I'd get undercut on Eric, but then I spun on the chicane as he was pitting, so I lost out there. Eric then spun on the top of Eau Rouge at the back. I can't remember the corner. No, Kemmel, the corner at the end of Kemmel or something.
Sure.
And I got that place back. I think I was running in third at that point, and I was probably third or fourth again. But I was, quite happy to be there. And then I just started with some mental fatigue and spun quite heavily and dropped down to seventh, and then I just saw it out like that. But overall, I think I achieved what I came to do, and that was try win. There's no way you can compete against guys like Michael and Janko when they're on the ball. They were insane. So congrats to them on their pace and the podiums, especially the one to Michael. And the Ginettas behaving nicely. It was quite fun. It was a great track to race multi-class on. Lots of space, and at some point you got to be careful and just lift off the throttle a little bit to be kind. And I think it was a very nice race. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it looked like there was quite a few battles in there. You did sort of half answer my question, which is we did see you spin out sort of towards the second stint, and I wonder whether that was fatigue, but you did already mention that it was. Are you going to be working on sort of trying to increase your endurance, your stamina throughout the race, maybe during the off season or in between races, or will you just try and compete in many races as you can currently and trying to increase your pace?
Well, today was just I was working for 12 hours before the race, and so I was quite shattered coming to the race. So it had nothing to do with anything other than just pure mental fatigue for the day. But I felt like I had worked on the setup quite well before the cancellation of the first event, and I thought I had a chance to do well. If it was another day, maybe last week's 2 weeks ago Sunday, I probably would have held on to that fourth or third even. So it was just a bad day for me, trying to keep it together. But generally, my pace was, I thought it was pretty good. I think Spa, every one of us have raced around here for many years on multiple different sims, so we know the track can really push it here, and I think probably this was my track to shine. So even though I ballsed it up, my pace should be pretty good in the next few rounds. Not winning pace, I can't compete against guys like Michael, who are close to 2 seconds quicker than me. I just don't know how they do it, but I'll be trying.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to see you battling for those podium positions potentially, as you did hold on to that fourth for quite a considerable amount of that race, and you did show very good pace. Well, very well done. Unfortunate for that slight mistake there, which cost you a few positions, but hopefully we can see you getting up into that podium finish.
Thank you. I hope so too.
So now we have got Darren here, who finished second actually in the Ginettas. So very well done from you. Can we see you challenging for potentially a race lead, maybe breaking Jeffrey from his winning streak?
I don't know, that's a tough challenge. I tried a little trick on him today. I tried to just do a splash and dash stop at the end and not take tyres. But that meant that I was heavier than him for the first stint, and I was on older tyres than him for the second stint. And even on a level playing field, he's quicker than me. So with that handicap, it didn't work out. Plus, I didn't do myself any favours at the start. I got involved in a couple of small bumps with cars. I might owe one person an apology. I thought it was Yusuf, but he didn't know what I was talking about, so it might be Thomas Blackett. But I felt that he turned in on me at the time in the race, so I kept on going. But if it was my fault, which I'll check afterwards, then apologies for that one. Yeah, not too much trouble with the GT2s. As long as they got past you before, like after Les Combes, before, after Eau Rouge, before you get to the S's after that, Les Combes, that was okay. But if they were still behind you there, then there was 1, 2, 3, 4, there was about 6 corners after that where they struggled to pass you without you actually backing right off and giving it to them, and that would cost you a lot of time. So it depends who caught you, whether they were going to just lunge up the inside or not, and I just tried to keep my line and wait for them to make the pass and then give them room when they did, and didn't seem to have any trouble with the GT2s at least. And the strategy paid off in a small way by helping me get back into second and take second anyway. I'm quite happy with second to Jeffrey.
Yeah, it looked like a very good race out there. We did see quite a few GT2s. We did see one at one point go 3 wide with a couple of Ginettas going 2 by 2 as well. So it is certainly quite a struggle to try and let those GT2s and GT4s past. Is there any tracks we can see you finishing well at, like you have done this week? Or aren't you as confident at some of the remaining tracks?
I can't think off the top of my head what the remaining tracks are, to be honest. Hopefully something like Brands Hatch maybe, or we haven't got any Aussie V8 tracks in the series, unfortunately, but they're the ones I can kind of excel on because I've done so many thousands of laps there. But I don't really go up or down too much track by track. I'm usually a pretty level within the field, just behind the fastest guys and just ahead of the sort of mid-pack guys generally.
Yes.
Hopefully I'll just improve a little bit from that and grab a few more podiums, and you never know, maybe a win.
Okayama and Barcelona to finish this series.
Okay, well, Okayama will be quite new for me. Barcelona, familiar with that, but that's not a favourite track of mine. Especially that new chicane they added at the end of it. Very horrible corner.
Yeah, it's very easy to run wide and to outbrake yourself into the chicane, and you get into a whole manner of problems as you come onto the final straight. I believe Okayama will be one for drivers who are used to iRacing, I believe, as it's one of their free tracks. So we could see maybe some favouritism from drivers who race in iRacing. But very, very well done on that second position.
Thank you.
And I believe Thomas Erzen is in here. I'm not sure whether he is at his computer or not.
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Yeah, Thomas is here. So I believe you finished 4th. Really good job from... where did you qualify again?
I started P2, but I had a very long first gear, so I knew I'll have a poor start. And then the F1 situation from last year happened. I expected 1 car on my right, and there were 2. Sorry, Heinz, about that bump. Luckily, I think you weren't affected. I went into a semi-spin, and then for the first 3 laps, I think everything went downhill before I started concentrating again and picking up the pace, fighting back to the top. I had a really nice race in the end.
Yeah, it looked like you did have some quite good battles with quite a few cars, actually. So when you were down towards the back of the field after that half spin, and as you said, after those 3 laps, did you find it difficult to regain almost that mental strength to fight your way back up, or does it half come naturally?
I got a bit frustrated because I went wide 3 times, I think, in the first 2 laps, and each of those times I was braking or letting go the throttle to not get a cut. I was losing quite some places with that, but I got all 3 cuts as well. So from lap 2 I was racing with 3 cuts. It was quite stressful just because of that, but I managed to concentrate and avoid the 4th one, luckily.
Yeah, it's really easy to count up those cuts, and before you know it, you do get a drive through. Are you feeling comfortable in that Porsche 911 RSR, or are you slightly struggling? It looks like you're doing very well in terms of pace.
Yeah, I wasn't completely happy with the setup for this track, but yeah, I'm getting used to the car. I am able to keep it quite on the limit, my limit at least. So Michael is in another universe, it seems, but yeah, there are some good fights behind him.
Yeah, there is quite a few good battles in there, or in and around throughout the entire field. To be fair, there's quite a few battles towards the bottom half of the grid. So, and throughout all the way to the top of the grid. Obviously, it is difficult to catch up with the drivers of Michael Kerr, as he is a very quick driver. Well, very well done on that 4th. Hopefully you can challenge for a podium. And hopefully we could maybe even see you battling for the championship. I'm not sure whether you are standing, but I believe it is fairly high on the grid.
Yeah, I'll try to finish in the top 3. I think that's doable, but I don't think anyone can catch Michael after tonight. He is just too fast in that Ferrari.
Yeah, he is very rapid. He seems to be one of those drivers that has got his setup down on that 458, as he is one of those drivers. So hopefully, if Matteo Santini is here, we'll be able to grab a quick word with him. I'm not sure whether he is or not. No, he is not. So that is the end of this race here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. We will be back here in 2 weeks' time, I believe, which will be the 10th of December, 8:30 PM GMT, as per usual. We will be at Okayama GP, however, this time, which will certainly be different, as you heard from the drivers. Not many of them know it. So from me in the commentary box, we wish you good night. Race on.